Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Toasty Tentacle. I am your host, your Reverend Ellsworth, and you, my friends, are on with none other than nationally touring comedian, the guest co-host of NBC's Daytime, and an opener for none other than the GOAT, Dave Chappelle. Please help me welcome Chris Gorges.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Just pretend they're out there, Chris.
That was
just
that one last guy.
Just so amazing. Oh my God, so awesome.
I'm on the Toasty Tentacle. Awesome.
You are on the Toasty Tentacle, sir. That's right. Hashtag Toasty Tentacle.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it started off as a puppet show, and I'll be honest with you, if you've seen any of the backlog, it's still puppet. We give everybody hot puppet action whenever they come by.
Hot puppet action. Oh,
I love. Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I think I've seen a few of these.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
I am. That is my actual last name. It's not a joke. It's a real last name.
It is because he's gorgeous on comedy.
No, it's just French. I don't know what it means. I'm sure it has a meaning. Nobody's ever told me.
Really? No?
Yeah.
You have no idea?
Nope, I don't. I've once joked that it stood for man with no woman, but then, eventually I got a little bit of moxie and I was able to put that to bed. Well, I don't know. I have no idea. It's French. I don't know what it is.
Hey! Speaking of moxie, I wanted to make sure that we took particular a note of the outfit. You'll notice that your host, normally barely in pants, is wearing a collared shirt, and of course our guest here is wearing a collared shirt as well. And I tell you, when I got dressed today, all I could do, and it's not just today. Every time I get up for comedy, I have a little Gorgeous in the back of my head going, "Hey, if you're working, you dress up."
Did I say that to you?
You did. We were out at Coconuts one night. It was nice because you have to understand that for 95% of the comedy culture, the standard uniform is a black t-shirt and blue jeans, which okay. I mean, okay.
For certain genres of comedy. I know the urban comics are they like to dress up.
Okay, sure. Urban comics. What's the subtext there?
Urban comics. Black comedians like to dress up. Most black comedians. Chappelle doesn't, but Bill Bellamy dresses to the nines. We know that all of the godfathers of comedy, they all wear suits and vests, and they were, to the nine. I'm not crazy, but I think, look nice at least, right?
Well, that's the thing, is that in a world of comedians that are rocking jeans and t-shirts, and we didn't have a whole lot of urban comedians come out in that area, or at least our urban comedians didn't dress up as much.
Was it wrong to say urban comedian?
No,
I don't think it's wrong.
I got to bust you a little bit. The sooner we can have conflict in the show, the bigger the spice, the bigger the ratings. Well, listen, at some point, I just want you to yank off your earbuds and be like, "Oh, screw this."
Now, listen, I'm a comedian. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a comedian.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can use the U word if you want. I mean, I wouldn't recommend people using the U word. No, but it's funny because a friend of mine who was in fact a person of urban, he told me one time when I got I had just gotten paid for this gig and I got like $400 in my hand, and he saw the danger and the chaos in my eyes, and he's like, "Hey, before you spend that, we're going to go to the suit shop." And he made me get my very first suit. And
there you go.
And I still have it to this day. And
look at that.
I got a funny story about it because it was supposed to be.
Still fits
me. It was supposed to be chocolate. It was supposed to be this deep brown chocolate, and you can see it's more of like a wine, like
it's like a Joker jacket.
I know, it is a Joker jacket. People call it my Barney jacket.
Barney jacket.
Yeah.
That's
well,
funny.
When you're a bigger fella and you get.
Did it come with the brooch? I'm curious. Is that a brooch? Oh no, that's an actual.
Okay. Now see this right here. This is Universal Life Church, Chris. Are you a registered online minister?
I am not a registered online minister, and actually I was referring to what I thought was a brooch, but it's actually the handkerchief. That's how old I am.
Yes, the handkerchief, my friend. This is a handkerchief. It may or may not be a negligee given to me by a very lovely friend of mine.
I don't need to know.
Wonderful fans. But hey, getting back on topic, I was thinking one night we were outside of the side of the Coconuts, and I was out there, and I'm a fat guy, so I either wear a jacket or I wear a bowling shirt. And there was another fat guy there, and he was unfortunately dressed in like cutoff jeans and a black t-shirt. And then there you are, and you're wearing, you've got, you got a pair of slacks on. You've got like a Cubavera shirt on, but then you've got like, like honest to God dress shoes on. And and there was a distinct difference between our apparel for the night. And I actually made mention. I was like, man, Chris, you look good. And he's like, hey, I'm working tonight. You actually did it. Like, hey,
okay, that doesn't sound as pretentious as, hey, Sean, we're working. What are you doing? That sounds way less pretentious.
I said that, Sean. We're working. Why are you?
I don't know what you're doing over there.
Insulting Green here.
And then I'm like, oh, you got puppets. Okay, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, all right. Well, come on in.
No, you were always like the I always consider you to be the like the P.T. Barnum of the comedy area. Like you never knew what was going to happen in a Sean Purvis situation. I know I did a show with you and you had dancers and there were burlesque ladies and it was a lot of, it was very theatrical and a lot of fun. It wasn't just a straight stand-up show. So you always were trying to throw something. So I guess in that instance, wearing what you want to wear, I get it. I understand that. I don't have a niche. I complain.
I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
I dress to complain.
No. You do complain. No, the other thing, I actually quoted you today, and I don't know if it was because I had an interview with you today and I was building your brand, probably.
Yeah.
But I mentioned you because a friend of mine is doing these videos for her work. She's in the mortgage business and she's got to do kind of this dry, really kind of financial and like most people, she's incorporating humor and comedy into it. And of course she's like, well, I know Sean and he's a good comedy expert. So
and you're a Toastmaster guy, right?
Well, yes, of course. I am the Toastmaster and I make the jokes. So it's all good.
No, but I mean, officially you're part of the Toastmaster.
No,
I
was.
Yeah, you were.
I'm a little.
So you've got that experience going for you.
Yeah. So I mean, it's more of the analytical side, but
okay.
There's the experience. But I told her as I'm watching this video, it's only a minute long, but in that 60 seconds, she has these different phases of the moon on her face. Like in the first 30 seconds, she's like, this information is really sad and I'm not going to give you any expression. And then 30 seconds in, she's like, and maybe, and I'm like, oh gosh, she woke up, and then 45 seconds in, she bumbled a word. She laughed at herself. And then she came in and she's like, and if you have any questions, and I'm like, well, shit, she just opened right up at the end. And I said, so what I want you to do is I want you to mess up at the beginning before you do the clip. So you have that kind of that energy, that bounce. Then you can immediately. And then I said, a friend of mine who I have an interview with today, I would watch him before he'd get on stage and you'd put in your earbuds and you'd listen to like Beastie Boys and you'd have all this like just driving. And I said, he'd be bouncing up there on his calves. And I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, no, man, I'm just getting in the headset. Getting the
energy going.
Yeah. And the second they, please welcome Chris Gorges. And you'd hit that stage and you grab the mic and you're like, you sir, do you have a problem? Do you have and you just be in somebody's face just immediately. Hello. And it was good.
I had it doesn't work for every comedian because like some comedians don't have that energy. Like you're energetic, but it's different type of energy. It's a smarmy sort of, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, I don't mean that in a negative way. I got to throw that out there. But it's your tone. The tone is very, hey, and I'm not like that. I tried that, didn't work for me. So for me, it's the manic, oh my God, if I hear one more time this thing, I'm going to frigging snap. I'm going to lose my brain and I can't, and it's that. And it's the, it's funny because another comedian that I work with said that my show is like a train ride. And sometimes the train leaves the station and I don't wait for everybody to get on the train.
That's true.
People are dangling off the sides. They're like, please slow down. We can't. What are you doing? And I'm like, we're gone. This is it. We're leaving. And I'm just, and you either get on. And, and what do trains do? What do trains do before they leave the station? They sit there and they hiss and they chug and they get the steam engine gets the pressure going up and then boom, you're out of there, especially if it's a bullet train. And I feel like I probably like a bullet train.
You do. You get to some points in your act that are just so frantic and just so energetic that because you try to explain, why is comedy funny to people?
Yeah.
And you go, well, there are a lot of reasons why people laugh. And one of the reasons people laugh is that if you and I have different energy levels, if you're really, pumped and nobody's that pumped, especially when you're doing shows at like 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night,
Right.
nobody's got that kind of energy. But
No.
you just peeled out of bed and this is your whole thing and you're hitting the crowd and they're just like, oh, okay, all right. Well, this is, it's kind of like watching a squirrel bounce off the wall. It's just entertaining just to see that kind of that energy juxtaposition, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I think, again, there's, I've always said there's definitely different genres of comedy. You got an urban comedy, and then you've got this sort of surreal comedy, like, Stephen Wright would be that surrealist sort of, pondering. Then you got your Jerry Seinfeld observational thing, and then you got people like me and like, I'm like, you ever look at Craig Shoemaker, the Love Master? He's got a bouncy sort of, energy, his frantic sort of, Brian Regan is the same way. He's sort of in the middle. He's got the energy, this sort of manic thing, but then he's also the pondering Jerry Seinfeld, what if sort of deals. So
right.
it just, there's so many different types of, I don't think there's a lot of comics that do what I do anymore. No. And I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just saying there's not a lot of guys. If you want to see Dale Jones is a Florida comic,
okay.
And he was on I think America's Funniest or whatever it was, and man, you want to talk about energy. That guy is shot out of a cannon every single show.
That's funny. It's funny because I was actually organizing a show and I was talking to Bull and I was like, Bull, we've got a lot of local comedians we can put into the show. And I'm like, I was thinking of doing so and so and so and so. And I was like, yeah. And I thought, Chris Gorges would be a great feature. And then I could do somebody else. And he's like, no, you can't. You can't do anybody after Chris Gorges. Like,
oh God,
you can do Chris Gorges last, but if you have somebody after Chris Gorges, they're gonna see like they're in slow motion, and they're gonna spend like the first half hour just like be like, hey everybody, I know that last comedian got you all like in a cocaine tizzy. If you could all just slow down,
yeah.
And enjoy.
I wish I did cocaine, although I'm glad I don't. I probably burst.
No, you would. Well, I mean, it would probably
attack.
have the opposite effect. It would probably just turn you into like,
I don't. Well, first of all, I don't do cocaine, but and I don't really go on stage under the influence of any things. And people have asked me, they actually think that I'm on, like I did something, and I'm like, no, it's just the tone that fit for me. One night I was on stage, and as you know, Sean, when you do this long enough, you search for your voice. The writing comes, and you do that, and that's not really. It's hard, but it's not like you have. It's not like this mysterious thing, right? But when you're on stage enough, you find the voice. You've got your voice. You got that, hey, and it works for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe it's smarmy. Who knows? I don't know what it is. All I'm saying is that that's your voice, and you're comfortable with it, and it works for you. And within it, you feel able to be honest. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, in that place, in that manic place, that's where I'm the most honest on stage. And I've said things in the past 3 years. That I never thought I would say out loud on stage. And I don't mean hateful things. I mean things about myself, things about my opinions about morality that people are like, what? And because I've connected with them, because you haven't seen my show in a long time, brother.
I haven't.
It's a whole, that whole, the whole, this is still in there. I don't use music. I just pump up like a boxing person. But now, the bits that you were seeing, they're perfect. I've molded them perfectly. And now I'm onto a whole new set. And this is like, let's talk about adultery. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm not kidding. That's literally one of the subjects of one of my bits. And people are like, what? I'm like, let's talk about the other side of it. And, because I want to explore and I want honesty to happen on stage. Right. That's where I'm at now.
Well, no, I think you bring up an amazing point about comedy. There is like a group therapy aspect of comedy that's always been there. I tell people when I go up to open mic and people are like, oh, why do you do open mic? I'm like, because therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
And, and this is free. And I get to come here and I buy a couple beers and then I force strangers to listen to my problems as I try to make it entertaining. Like, hey, here's my pain. Yeah. I'm going through some stuff. I was thinking about a razor blade today, but let's have a chuckle, and it's like.
Well, and some people do that without actually talking about their problems. Some people are just up there making people laugh and that's their release. And they don't really talk about like real things. Yeah. Like some guys are talk about things that aren't, well, they're just things that they aren't real. Oh, I had a car and it had a dinosaur in it, and crap like that. Yeah, okay, it's funny and it's clever, but that's not real. It's not real. Let's be honest. Whereas I talk about, I'm in my house and I'm separated from my wife and we're in the house and I'm miserable and I want to get out, but I can't get out. I have a kid, and what the hell did I do? And why didn't I go to college? The honest things, about life, and I think the audience connects on both levels.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think yes and I'm working on a new. It's that
Hmm.
improvisational thing
Yeah.
where you don't present negative energy. It's always a positive energy. And
Right.
I find that in conversation, I often go, "No, you're right," and I'm like, "Why do I do that?
Yeah, why do you say
That's
no? You're right.
that's contrary. Why would I say that?
Well,
No,
you know what you're
and it's
saying.
like,
You know what you're saying is, I don't really want to agree with you, but I will acknowledge that you're right. That's what you're
yeah,
saying.
that's not what I mean. I want to keep the flow of ideas, Chris. You're
Do you?
right. You're right. It's important to get that therapeutic value out on stage and
Here's
to
the thing. Here's the dichotomy of that. Because I taught improv and I took improv from Dick Shaw, who co-founded Second City and was part of the Compass Theater in Chicago. And he was really, they do Viola Spolin's method of improvisation, which is, like you said, there is no resistance. Everything flows back and forth, no matter what it is, right? So even the improv rules don't matter. Like the yes and thing is like considered a golden rule of improv. Yes, you agree with what the statement is made, and then you add to it, right? Somebody says, "Oh, it's pretty rainy today," and you go, "Yeah, it is rainy, and we're probably gonna get a leak in the roof." That's your yes and,
right.
right? But here's the thing: you could block it when improv, which is called blocking. Hey, it's pretty rainy today. Nah, it's not raining. That's a block. You shouldn't do that. But on the other hand, I learned doing it long enough that could be a gift too.
Yeah,
Blocking it could be a gift too.
it could be a gift. You're
Right? It
right.
could. You could say it's raining outside. No, it's not raining. That's just your ALS kicking in, your PTSD kicking in. That's what you're hearing. Now, the other person has a choice. They can either accept that or go, "No, I was never in the war." Now you got another block. But it could be a gift. It could be a gift. You don't remember you're in the war. You don't remember any of that, do you? Yet at 3 o'clock in the morning, you remember you're up around the house with whatever it is, it can go back and forth. So even
Right.
the thing that's supposed to be the rule can be bent to be still a positive thing. So don't be so hard on yourself is my point.
All
Don't
right. All right. I'll be nicer to myself. I'll be positive.
say
Hey,
yes. Don't
thanks, Chris. I feel
no.
like you've given me encouragement, but you've
I don't know
also
look. I'm in
hurt
the
me.
house for a month and a half, Sean. I got no gigs. I'm starting to get a little squirrely. If we're being honest.
Oh no, oh no, let's be perfectly honest. I think what's amazing is watching during this whole pandemic, watching nationally touring comedians lose their flippin' minds. Tom Papa, I love Tom Papa. He is
Yeah,
one of the most, just, I wouldn't say wholesome, because
he's genuine.
he
He's
plays his
genuine.
stuff. He is genuine. He's a
Yeah.
very genuine comedian, and whenever you see him, he's always so clean and so,
Yeah.
so neatly pressed, and he always looks so shaved, and his hair is just so,
See a
and
mess now.
and a month into quarantine, and you're like, who is this homeless person, and how did he get in Tom Papa's house? And Tom Papa's like, man, I got to get out on the road, man. Man, you got some sidewalk, man. You got some, it was a lot of these comedians they only function on the road, and now that they're
Yeah.
home, you're like, oh.
I don't. I don't. I just remodeled my family home that
Mm.
I'm in. Last year, I totally remodeled. My grandmother willed it to me, so I got a home. So thank God I have a place I don't have to worry about during all of this. But I think it's funny. A friend said to me, I don't think people realize for a lot of comics how important the art is for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, life on the road's one thing, but getting up and doing that, and especially getting paid for it, is important. So I don't know how we're going to move forward with the distancing and all these things with comedy. Although in Florida next week, I think, or the week after, one of the Fort Myers clubs is opening. I won't be booked in that club because I've pissed off the owner. But anyway,
Nicely done, Chris.
oh,
Nicely
you know
done.
what? Another episode. I'll tell you that. You want drama? That was some drama right there. And I finally went,
Hey.
you know what? I've had enough. And I.
Hey, did you see that, kids? That's Chris Gorges ensuring he's got job security here at Toasty Tentacle. He'll be back for another story. Nicely done, Chris.
See, that's the voice, Sean. I like
that's
that voice.
Right. That's I've done a lot of voiceover work. So if you ever see me on some highly sketchy commercials emanating from the Middle East, I signed up for Fiverr. And okay, so
what is it called? Fiverr?
Fiverr. It sounds like what you're eating. Fiverr. Like, give me a fiver.
Yeah.
But you do 2 R's.
Yeah,
And
no, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of these micro gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I was like, hey, for $5, I'll say what did I say, up to 500 words. I did something
500? That's a lot of words.
I went nuts. I didn't realize you should do like a nickel a word, because I wasn't thinking. I was young. I needed the money, Chris.
Also, did you try just doing 500 words to see how long that is? That's a lot of words.
I wasn't thinking about it. Thinking about it, but I did a great demo reel. I was like, do you need another voice? Don't worry, I will do it for you. I can do different voices.
Nice.
So I got all of these, I got all these hits, and some of them were fun. Like I did this I don't know, this compilation video where it's like, who goes there? And then a friend of mine contacted me, and I actually did an audio book. A friend of a friend wrote this weird fiction book set in the future where God, is like hell on earth and all this weird stuff. And I did the voiceover. I didn't know what I was doing. It should take you like 6 to 8 weeks to do this, and it only took me a scant 6 to 8 months. And boy,
I thought you were going to say you did it in a day and a half. I'm like,
no,
oh man.
No. And let me tell you, some of the reviews are humbling. Like the one, my absolute best one was, Sean Purvis is the worst narrator I have ever heard. Wow. In fact, if he had signed on for the second book, you would have never gotten another $1.
Oh, thank God he didn't do the Left Behind series.
I know. So sad, because then you'd be here on Earth, and then all you'd have was that.
Now, are the gloves that you're wearing, is that for the show, or are those your pandemic gloves?
These are my these are for my show gloves. My whole thing about the show is to be as weird as possible. And
so it's like a Dr. Demento situation you got going on?
It is very much a Dr. Demento. Thank you so much. What a that's the finest compliment we've received here at Toasty Tentacle.
Well, that and I'm old. But
well, yeah, I mean, just slightly.
What's that? What's the lit thing behind you? What is that? I'm just curious.
This right here is a lantern I made back in middle school. We were studying Japan.
Oh,
this
cool.
is a Japan windsock that was supposed to help embrace our culture. And I kept it forever, and I made a skeleton. I shoved some LEDs in there, and I thought, well, anything that lights up is good.
Sure. And then I can't read the sign behind it, but it looks official.
Yeah, it actually says Toasty Tentacle, but apparently I haven't figured out the whole lighting situation. So it kind of fades in and out.
Yeah, there, I can see it now, yeah.
And it's also backwards, which a lot of people are like, why is it backwards? I'm like, because I want you to notice. The other thing is when you're doing live stuff, depending on what platform and when you're doing it, it'll reverse the image, which is great. So I'm like,
I don't know if I ever had that problem. When I had a podcast double special, and we did live on YouTube once a week for like 3 or 4 years, probably 5 years. It's so funny now. People are like, oh, you should do a podcast. I'm like, I did do a podcast. Where in the hell were you when I was doing it? I did it for 3.5 years. I'm pretty sure I sent you some notifications there, buddy. But now you should do one. Yeah, it's too late now. I've already did it. It was really good. You missed it. I had listeners from London and Australia, and that's not a lie. One actually comes and visits me, but where were you, American person? Sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is like free, man. We wouldn't be able to get to see a Chris Gorges show for like months anyway.
And who knows when we'll ever get to see one. At this point, I got people saying you should do comedy on the beach. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do comedy on the beach. I don't like Jimmy Buffett. I don't have a guitar. You got tambourines, Sean, but what am I going to do with a tambourine? Okay. Oh, you should do it at the drive-in. Yeah, we should do it at the drive-in so we can replace laughter with beeps and loud honks of a car. What a reassuring sound for a comedian as bam, bam. That's really lets you know that you really hit the funny bone on that one. Sorry, I'm so stressed about it.
No, you should let it out. You're in that school of comedy like Lewis Black. The angrier you are, the stronger you become. It's
so true.
You know how like Wakanda, like they make their Black Panther's armor out of vibranium.
Right.
You're made out of like infurium. Just the angrier you are, just the.
I'm so putting that in my I'm putting that in my bio. I swear to God. Survives on furium.
He's made of furium.
I was at a park one time with my soon-to-be ex-wife and another comedian and some family members, and I don't like being in line with people and listening to their conversations. Usually they're just not like, and please don't, if you see this later, don't be offended that I don't like your stories. I just don't. It's not. Don't take it personally.
Not personal.
And so I started complaining, And my ex-wife was saying, oh, I just hate it when you complain. And the other comedian's like, he's not complaining. He's at the gym right now. He's actually working out. He's curling. This is a bench press situation. And I was on a tear. It was good. Like, don't suppress me, for God's sakes. I need to let this out.
But I mean, it's important. I mean, it's funny because I talk to myself all the time, and I realized that as a child, my mother was in that school of thought that you let your babies cry themselves to sleep, self-soothe. And I realized she had to do this to me. And when I get really angry, I'm just like, it's okay, Sean, you're good. You're okay. And my brother's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, the guy who I don't want you to kill or to kill you. So that's who I'm talking to. And that was kind of, it's like, what you doing? But with comedians, I find that same mindset time and time again, where it's like, if you give me 5 minutes a week, and a whole room full of strangers sit there and go, yes, Chris, you're right. That is some pardon me. That is some effed up shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I violated my own rules. But yeah, I mean, if you don't get that out once a week, it kind of bottles up and it shakes and the bottle cap comes off and dangerous things happen.
That sounds so clinically bad for me. Let me just say that. Like, when you put it that way, I feel like I think I have a problem. I may have to actually go see somebody at the VA about this. I'm
just saying they have like online therapy, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
No, look, in a way you're right. And it's not, I don't operate from a place of ego, first of all. So I'm not doing it out of ego. Like, I want you to like me. I'm doing it because I really enjoy making people laugh. I feel like that for me is, I'm not bragging and I'm not famous, but I'm really good at it. I'm not famous because of me, not because of my humor. It's because I was like, I don't really want to be famous. I don't care about that. All I wanted to be was a good club comedian, and that's exactly what I am.
You study people. That's what a comedian is. A comedian is a social scientist. You have had millions of conversations, and that's the thing. Every time you're at a party, every time you're in line at the waiting for the queue at Walmart, you're sitting there and you're going, "Hey, how about this weather?" And somebody goes, "That's not funny," and you're like, "Okay, I need to spice up my humor." You're constantly experimenting. It's constantly that social experimentation.
Yeah. Until you hit 60, and then that's all you say. What's the weather? Or what part of you is sick? That's what I'd like to know. Let's talk about which part of you is sick.
How has God failed you today?
Look, I'm losing faith. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not an alarmist. But, with this pandemic and the way people are acting, I really and I'm hoping that we get back to normal. I'm hoping that people will seek out comedy. I'm hoping that we can still have open. It's really hard for comedians right now because we've got this sort of national narrative that is, I don't want to listen to what you have to say if you aren't like me. And I know that's a broad generalization, but it is real and it is happening right now. And I'm a centrist. I'm a Libra. I'm in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like the worst dichotomy ever. I'm like a liberal who owns rifles. I'm in somewhere just because I'm not a team person. I don't get on the team and go, ruh, 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 ruh. I don't. I go, you guys go ahead. I'll watch. Go ahead.
I'm a disestablishmentarianism. You're like,
no, yeah, kind
of. Isn't that a group? Yeah,
it is.
The irony.
Yeah, no, but say I don't know. I don't call myself a liberal. I'm an independent voter. I'm not subscribed to anything. I just want people to be nice to each other, and also don't BS me. Just be. And again, we roll full circle. Give me honesty. Right. I want honesty. That's what I want. It's not easy, by the way, Sean.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Hey, listen, we've got about 5 minutes left on the show right here. Before we go, I wanted to put a bug in your ear. When is your book coming out? When are you writing your book?
Oh, I am. My book is in the process of being writing. I'm on the second chapter. Did I tell you about my book?
No, you didn't. Why am I asking? Why?
How did you know that?
#plant a book seed. We ask all of our guests about their book, Chris. That's what we do.
I am actually writing a book. That's so funny.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. The name of the book is called The It Factor, and it's nice. It's like a psychological thriller about a comic who goes into the big city of LA to meet his idol, and turns out the guy's not who he thought he was, and the guy has sort of a psychotic snap and starts to try to clinically find out what the it factor is and if he can recreate it in a lab. it gets really dark and weird, and yeah, there's kidnapping and torture. It's really weird. It's
Nice.
It's an interesting story though.
Did you find your first? Now, is this your first foray into fiction, or have you done this before?
I've done some short stories, but nothing published. Okay. But yeah, so I've had this idea for a while. I got it because I worked in the medical field, and I met somebody that was famous, and her mother wasn't famous. I was like, why? Well, how come the mother's not into the same? You know, where is the? So yeah, and then I made it dark because I'm a weirdo.
Hey, no, that's awesome. Well, that's good. Well, I look forward to it. Please keep us updated on that.
I will.
The reason I bug everybody about a book is I think I think that's the one universal project that you can encourage anyone on. Like there isn't a person with whom you can communicate that you cannot challenge to then write a book.
That's interesting, dude. I like that idea. That's very cool. And you're right. Why not?
And anyone, like even the saddest, most sickest, most depraved, the most wonderful, the most accomplished, the most failed, everyone needs to write that book because it's a.
Well, they're stories, aren't they? At the end of the day, human stories.
It is. It's human stories. It's how we share information. It's what we're doing right now. Yep. You know, we've met before. We've shared information before. Sure. Why would we share it again? Well, because I like your perspective. I like your take on things. I don't agree with everything, obviously, because you're psychotic. But aside from that, I mean, we share information, and that's the way to do it. You know, and you're what would Alan Watts would say? You're kind of a sticky. No, you're kind of a sharp and pointy kind of guy because you're like, why don't things work out? And and I'm kind of like a soft and gooey. I'm like,
yeah, you are. Hey,
and so we share these these perspectives on the world, and we just.
I like poking your soft gooiness and pulling it back to see how far I can stretch it away from you.
I like gooing your sticky prickliness to see if I can get some of these shards to go back together like the Japanese where they repair broken things with gold.
Nice. Make sure you hang that in the studio when you're done with it.
That's good. That's
good. Hey, listen, thank you so much for having me on, John. I'm glad you're doing good. It was fun.
I really appreciate this. So definitely we'll check out the description below. And if you like what we're doing here at Toasty Tentacle, be sure to hit subscribe and hit the bell icon. And of course, look out for the double special show. And I think there was a B-side show as well.
I had a B-side radio show that was on. It's not happening anymore. I'm coming back to YouTube very soon. Trust me.
Good. I'm hoping because that's looking like the next 2 years landscape for most performers. So get over yourself, Chris. You're not special. You're like, you're in all this with the rest of us.
I know that. Well, that's it. This has been the great equalizer. I'll call Bill Burr right now. What are you doing, Bill? Well, same thing. Good for you.
Yeah, good job. Bill Burr was like one of the first people to have podcasts. And he's like, look at me. Look at Rogan and his success. And here I am, the innovator and pioneer, sucking hind teeth. But that's not for you, Chris. You're going to get back on the horse. You're going to get back out there.
You're right.
All right.
I am.
So your parting shot. You may never see us again. We may never hear from you again. What are your parting words of wisdom?
Buy seeds. No, I'm good.
You heard it here first. # plant a book seed. There we go. That's how we go. All right, Chris. Bye. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sean.